Some things are just so awesome that you know you have to do them again. Like when you're at Disney World and you've just gotten off Space Mountain and it was so great that you're like, okay, let's go again. And then you see the 3.5-hour wait time and you're like, okay, let's not. Well, Final Fantasy VII, released in 1997 for the PlayStation 1, was one of those games. Everyone loved it so much that the developers sought out to recreate it 20-some-odd years later, with all the passion and love they had for the universe the first time. What they created is Final Fantasy VII Remake, a beautiful love letter to everything that made the original so great, that also excels at accomplishing new feats that the original just couldn't, due to the limited hardware of the PS1. Now, if you've never heard of FF7 Remake, or Final Fantasy in general, I plead you to watch this whole video, because the game is great, and you should get it, and I am here to explain why. Now, before we dive on into the objective greatness of FF7 Remake, we need to go over why it's so important that Square Enix remade some game from 1997. First, the original FF7 was more than just a game. It was an event. The marketing for the game shows that it was being sold as a blockbuster spectacle, the first of its kind, where story took the front seat. To be real, up until then, games weren't about their story. Try to think of a game that had a more complex narrative than save the princess or defeat the bad guy. Mario, Sonic, even Zelda all had stories that were simple, easy to follow, and primarily only there to create a setting so the player could fight the bad guys. Final Fantasy VII was different. It promised to deliver a groundbreaking story of such a scale that no developer had yet attempted. It would focus on characters, their backgrounds, how they would react to different places and people, and it would explain why they are the way they are. For the first time in history, a video game would try to make its world feel real. And oh boy, did people love it. 2 days after its release, Final Fantasy VII had sold 2 million copies. In the US, the game made $16.5 million on its opening weekend. In 1997, games were still trying to break out of their niche back then. The game was a revolutionary, turn-based, story-driven RPG that would inspire gamers and developers alike for decades. And now, after 23 years, the game has been remade. Well, reimagined. You see, the original version on the PS1 focused on a turn-based battle system. Even with impressively intuitive design, the PS1 just could not handle real-time combat. However, it's 2020 now. Games have come incredibly far in the past 20 years, and FF7 Remake goes even farther. Now, for transparency's sake, I will say I have not played the original 1997 game. I am, however, familiar with its story, characters, and gameplay, and have a more than general understanding of what the game is like. Even still, if you want a more comparative opinion to see how the remake holds up to the original, this isn't the review for you. I will be analyzing the game primarily from an individual standpoint and judging it by its standalone quality. Alright, enough with big words, on to the review. It's good. Seriously, this game is a great example of a piece of digital medium that can feel alive. The game spends a lot of its time world building, and the player will spend a lot of their time with the game's characters, which, by the way, are great. Each of the 4 party members gets time and heart put into them, and you, the player, comes to relate to each of them. There's Barrett, the gun-wielding planetologist who fights to protect the planet and his own daughter. Tifa, the calm and collected brawler who has known Cloud since they were kids, and can tell something is wrong with him but doesn't say anything because plot. Aerith, the light-hearted white mage who can communicate with the planet and also knows the future but maybe doesn't, I don't know. And Cloud, the talented mercenary who has no idea where or who he is or even his own age. Did somebody say flashback? Our story kicks off when Cloud, an above-average merc, is hired by the eco-extremist group Avalanche. Their mission? Infiltrate and shut down Mako Reactor 1, one of several giant steel constructions that suck up Mako, the naturally occurring energy of the planet, and use it to power the megametropolis of Midgar. You see, Avalanche believes that Mako is the very lifeblood of the planet, and that when it's gone, the world will die, taking humanity with it. So, they embark to destroy the giant reactors that gobble it up. With the help of Avalanche's fearless and armless leader, Barrett, Cloud makes it into the reactor and prepares to set a bomb at its core. It works. Cloud heads back to the Sector 7 slums, home of the impoverished, underneath the great steel plates of Midgar. He then meets up with his not-girlfriend, Tifa, yada yada yada. Listen, I know the story's just starting, but it's really good and you should experience it for yourself. All I'm saying is that each character gets moments to shine, and side additions that weren't fleshed out in the original 1997 version get amplified and made big deals of. The characters actually talk to each other, the everyday citizens all get voice lines, and it all comes together to make the world feel real. Final Fantasy VII Remake is an action beat-em-up, shoot-em-up, and magic-em-up that uses real-time combat with classic RPG elements mixed in. Now, I know what you're saying. How is it possible to have a real-time action fighter that laces in classic turn-based combat? That's an impossible blend of two genres. Nope. FF7 Remake does it by having real-time fighting where characters use their standard attacks, just like games such as Spider-Man PS4 or Xenoblade. Sort of. Here's the twist. Landing attacks and successfully guarding grants ATB. What it stands for, nobody knows, but ATB is the core of this game's combat, and generating it is simple as hit the bad guy and don't let the bad guy hit you. Below every character's health bar are two ATB gauges that, when filled, can be used to enter tactical mode. Once in tactical mode, the game goes into slow motion, and you can take your time to plan your next move, or contemplate your life choices. You see, from here, you can pick how your characters spend their ATB charges. With the necessary ATB, a character can use one of their unique abilities, use an item, or cast a spell, even though spells also cost MP. These abilities and spells range from useful to devastating, cough cough dive kick, and the spells range from regenerating your health to making your team generate ATB faster to engulfing your enemies in holy fire! But that's not all. Below each enemy's health bar is a stagger gauge that fills as they take damage. Attacking enough will send an enemy into the pressured state, where the stagger gauge builds up significantly faster. If the bar is filled, the enemy is staggered, immobilizing them and granting a damage multiplier. Certain abilities fill the bar much faster, and the stagger system is just another way this game makes its combat unique. The point is, the depth of this game's combat comes from choosing when and what to spend your angry telekinetic baboons on. Some of the best moments of the fighting in this game come from using a bunch of special moves at once, filling the stagger gauge, then just absolutely destroying whatever it is that got in your way. Which reminds me, the enemies that come at you aren't just the same recycled 5 enemy types. We've got Shinra troopers, giant robots, a demonic house from hell. You'll never run out of stuff to kill. Oh yeah, and just in case you're having trouble with your murdering, taking significant damage will fill your character's limit gauge, and when it's full, you can use a limit break. Each character's unique secret arts that have lastingly devastating effects on the battlefield. Here are my personal favorites.
One hell of a light show. Oh, look now, this is about to get real.
I'll help you through this. Keep it up.
Let's dance, asshole. Nothing to it.
So, in summary, the combat is engaging, fast-paced, and action-packed. You get to use aggressively terrorizing ballistics. It's good. It's really good. But not all the time you have in Midgar is spent chopping up the opposition into neatly isometric bits. Another great portion of your time will be used on the Materia system, this game's unique battle customization system. Each character's weapons and armor have included materia slots, each being able to equip a new spell, enable an ability, or even upgrade stats. The materia system allows you to create custom builds of characters and ensures no two players' playstyles will be the same. But when you're not brutally slaughtering, or preparing for it, you'll get to experience some of the most beautiful environments available on the PS4. From the gorgeous skyboxes of the Undercity to the dazzling night sky of the upper plates, everywhere you go there will be things to look at. Hopefully in the future parts of the remake we can get slightly more player interaction in these explorable areas though. Sometimes it feels like walking through a very pretty empty hallway. Or at least it would if the game wasn't being hard carried by one other element I haven't mentioned yet. The music, dude. Oh my lord, the music. This game goes wild with its music. Every area, every boss, every dang character, including the ones you see like twice, have their own tracks. The sheer amount of raw beats this game has is unparalleled, uncontested by any other game of recent years. The use of leitmotifs and themes is crazy too. The game has like 30 little melodies that keep showing up in tracks, and countless remixes of classic themes from the original, reimagined yet faithful. Oh yeah, and the music kind of spoils major plot points and concepts for the next parts if you know what to listen for. Regardless, you'll be 3 phases deep in a boss fight, barely still alive, and then that dang Those Who Fight theme kicks in, and you go sicko mode on that hallucinogenic alien calamity. Spoilers. It's moments like this one that make this game so memorable. You're down to one party member, low on health and MP, but with some encouragement from a friend and a little bit of luck, you rise up and break your limit. It's Aerith's big attack that I just used. That's what it's called. I don't know either.
Gotta dig deep for this one.
And then hit me with your limit break. Hit me with your limit break, baby girl. Oh, that's a freaking planet's protection! Oh, it's time! It's time! Goodbye! Be gone! Be gone! Be gone! You know?
It's so hot.
Like, of course.
Survive this onslaught!
GG, easy, no.
The buff's almost over, the buff's almost over. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can cast regen. Oh, Aerith! Oh, Aerith, it is your time! It is your actual time! Hit him, hit him, hit him! Hit him! Yes! Yes! Oh! I killed it! I killed it! I beat it! Axel, it was all you! Axel, it was all you, dude! Your encouraging words made me power through. Oh my god!
But while
Oh
you
my
come
god!
out victorious,
Oh my
I come
god!
out stinky because I just shit myself.
A lot of people grew up with Final Fantasy VII. A lot of people remember running to their PlayStations after school and joining Cloud & Co. on their next adventure. And a lot of people fell in love with video games when they played FF7. For some, this has made their experience with the remake even more special, while for others it has left a bad taste in their mouth. Many OG players believe that the changes to the gameplay of Remake were unnecessary, and a lot of fans wanted a one-to-one remake. And while I do see where they're coming from, I'm more than glad that this game turned out the way it did. But there is one glaring thing that made me reconsider my praise for this game. It is very unclear. And I don't mean that it's difficult to see the screen. I'm talking about the state of ambiguity this game leaves its players in. You see, the game doesn't explain much. The backgrounds of its characters aren't truly explored. The origins of its heroes are merely hinted at. And this is because this game is not finished. The Final Fantasy VII Remake project isn't finished. It's being split into multiple full games, just like how the original was split into 3 discs on the PS1. Now, I was lucky enough to already be familiar with the story of the original, so I wasn't confused about much, bar the ending, but I can see how the game's handling of its characters could leave a new player unfulfilled. I actually have a friend who got the game recently, and he's playing it completely blind. Like, totally blind. Like, he doesn't even know about that one famous spoiler levels of blind. And I don't know what he's gonna think when he finishes the game. So, know that before buying this game, you aren't getting a full story. This is a series, and this game is its opening act. Rest assured, however, this project will be finished. It must be. The developers said in an interview that if they don't do this now, they'll be dead before they finish it. So, yeah. Although I'm sure that won't stop most people from finishing the game, looking up spoilers, and finding out who dies. This game is great. It's engaging from start to finish, has really good replay value, including boss fights and items only accessible on a second run-through, among other spoilery things. Despite its few rough spots, it's truly an incredible game, and our experts here at Quinix Studios give it a 9 out of 10. And we'd love to hear your opinion too. So get the dang game. So that was my essay. My final plea to try and convince people to try this Herculean game. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, tell me, and I'll work on more of these reviews in the future. Guys, thanks for sticking around. I know my upload schedule is non-existent, but making these videos is awesome, and you guys are awesome. Thanks for watching.